We're talking about logistics and transport today. We often talk about the world of logistics and transport. And that's because the world comes to a standstill if you're not transporting anymore. Everything that we see right here, but everything you've touched today already has gone over the entire world most of the time. So the world comes to a standstill if no transport is there anymore. Of course, you have digitized printing and 3D printing these days, so let's hope that it decreases. But we have a huge issue with inefficiency. But if you look at the market, it's a huge market. It's 5% of the gross value added in Europe, and 664 billion. And if you look at the workforce, and it's a very happy workforce, as you can see. People love to work in transport, but it's a huge group of people that is working in transport. It's about 5% of the European workforce as well. And those 11.5 million people working in Europe are working for a lot of different transport companies, and it's a logistics sector as a whole. But there's a lot of transport companies throughout Europe. A lot of them are based in Southern Europe, but also in Western Europe, of course. And Netherlands is, if you look at transport, a very important hub for the entire Europe. But the strange thing, if you look at transport and logistics in general, everyone is talking about the problem being its cost. And it's only about cost every time, because it's a cost added to your product. But if you look at the value of transport, you make sure that the right product is at the right time for the right person. And without transport, you can't sell it. So it's value added. But that's not how the sector or how the world is looking at transport. They're looking at cost, and the cost should go down. They're looking at quality, should go up, and the flexibility should also go up. And if you look at companies like, for example, Coolblue, it's also about perception. Because if you order something online right now, I can have it delivered still today at the 4th floor if I want to, and it's for free. And also with a smile, because that's what they promised me. And that's a perception thing, because all of a sudden all of us think that transport is free. And you can just request it today and it will be delivered today. But that's not how transport works. So what does the transport sector do? They look at efficiency. How can we do things as efficient as possible? And then all of a sudden, there's 1 in 3 trucks is driving empty. And that's a huge difference with the previous slides. We have to focus on efficiency, but now 1 in 3 trucks is empty. And what about the world around us? Of course, everyone is looking at sustainability and how can we improve the world around us. The goal of the European Commission is to have a decrease of 20% in 2020. But if you look at the graphs and the figures, all the sectors are going down due to the solar panels and wind energy and things like that. Except for transport, it's still going up. And that's because we want to have our products faster and right now on the spot for free. So less efficiency. So the question comes up, and that's of course part of the challenge as well, but why? Why is this happening? And then you can see that the world of transport, if you talk to people in the sector, that it's a very traditional sector. I don't promise you that they're still driving these trucks, but let's hope so indeed, because otherwise we'll never make that happen, emission reduction. But it's a very traditional sector. We've been doing it for 65 years and we're still doing it. And that's a slogan. But that's not a good thing, right? We have to change, but they're still working in a very manual and analog way. And of course, we don't want to see these things, but they still happen. We are still looking at a board and making our daily planning every day. And that's also due to the fact that we have 550,000 transport companies in Europe. Because how can you have a meeting with 550,000 transport companies and define a standard? How can you automate your processes if you don't have a standard? If everyone is talking about the truck, but they all call it differently. And that's a huge problem for the sector. But an even bigger problem is the fact that 80% of those 550,000 companies, and for the quick counters, you could already have the workforce and the transport companies, you could figure this out, is that 80% of those companies have less than 5 persons in their company. And it's about, you're sitting at the dinner table that night with the 4 of you in a transport company, and you have to decide who's going to be the innovation manager. You're all truck driver. What do you mean innovation manager? Who's going to implement our blockchain technology? We're on the truck. How and when? So that's a huge problem. So for us as UTURN, we thought it's time for a change, and we need to make that change. So are you ready to make the turn? That is the question that we're asking today, because we're in the age of a network and platform economy. If you look at the biggest business networks that there are, they don't have their own network. They are connecting each other. And we are doing it ourselves. If you look at the biggest content website that there is in the world, they don't have any content writers. We are doing it for them. But also the biggest bed and breakfast doesn't own any beds. And the biggest shop is planning to have no own products anymore. They're only connecting people through their platform. And if you look a bit closer to the transport and blockchain and platform world, ShipChain is something you should definitely look into. They are trying to make the things that we just discussed to look at certain transports and give that data and share that throughout the supply chain. Because supply chain from the harvest in Argentina to our plate here, they want to make that visible. So what can we learn from these network and platform companies? They're very simple. They focus on the core of what that business should do. They are very flexible, so they make sure that you can do it wherever you are and how you want to use it. They're transparent. For example, bol.com, you can see who you're buying the stuff from. They don't care, but call them immediately. It's fine. We just provide the service as a platform. They're digital. They're connected. You can use your mobile app with our platform as well to find your loads. Very important for platform and network companies is scalability. So without volume, you have nothing. You have to be scalable. Your business should grow faster than your organization because you're not selling a product. You don't have margin on that product. You're selling a service. And most importantly, they are very efficient in what they do. They automate their own processes, but they also make it efficient for you to do something. And that's what we do at UTURN as well. We have a very transparent and simple matching platform. And what we do, we connect shippers with carriers based on the spot. So what we do, we find the best match every time. For this shipment, this carrier can do it with the less empty kilometers, and tomorrow it's going to be a different one, and the day after another one again. Uber has already been mentioned, has a lot of negative things, but it also has some nice concept. And for example, the rating model is very good. What they do is they give a rating to the carrier, the driver, but also to you as a passenger. And we've incorporated that same model into our platform. So carriers get a rating from a shipper, and the next time they will know this is a good company or a bad company, but also the other way around. And that way both parties have the urge to improve their service. Since we've been doing we created a prototype in 2017, which we tested with Unilever, and we found out a few things, but the most important one was focus. So what we did, we focused on box containers, that is our product type, and we focused on the region Rotterdam, because it's the largest container hub in Europe. And since our launch, we've been able to connect 450 carriers. We've had more than 5,000 app downloads, made more than 1,850 matches, but most importantly, we've grown 20% every month since the beginning of 2018. And also in January, we've been able to keep this growth going. And finally, of course, we have a 5-star rating. That's easy. And now we're at the time to scale. So we're a startup. We've tested our concept. We've tested our product. We want to make the next step. So all we are focusing right now is growth, 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 and to see how we can partner up with companies like TVM to really add value in the chain. So are you ready for the turn? That's my question today, but I should restate it to, are you ready for the challenge that is coming up, of course, because there's also some difficulties with what we are doing, because we're making a flexible contract between two parties while it's going about goods that might be worth hundreds of thousands of euros. So how are we going to do that? Thank you very much.